Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Otter ProTech regular 40-inch case and the ProTech deep 40-inch case. They also make a 48-inch version, but my ice fishing poles are a bit shorter, or I like them on the shorter side. I'm not a professional. I don't get paid to do this, but I want to be able to make sure that my equipment is safe and not being destroyed in the process of going ice fishing. So I first ended up with the regular case. I thought this was all I needed, and I don't go that many times a year. I just want to be able to get out with some friends and kids once in a while. And so I just needed, the cheaper of the two options. But if you look out there for a good case, there isn't many to choose from. There's a couple from some of the sporting goods stores, but they're very flimsy. The plastic is cheap. I've had a fabric one for a long time, right here from Cabela's, and it served its purpose. It has little zip pockets on the side. I was able to keep my tip-ups in there, various poles in the different pockets, but it's flimsy. And, it has some bend to it. So as I started buying nicer poles, I was getting worried that, if I hit the bag wrong, that there would be a bit of damage. So I'm retiring this and moving on to big boy case. And that's why I went with the Otter. Now this one is going back to the store because I found something better. So first off, let me talk about both cases. They're both roto-molded plastic, very tough. I wanted something that I could throw in the back of my truck, not worry about, keep in the basement, get thrown around on shelves, and nothing's going to happen, right? I see a lot of people strap these to the back of their ATV. You can load stuff on top of them. So you don't have to worry about your investment going down the drain because you bought a subpar case. And again, with going with my kids now, I'm carrying extra poles and just making the investment greater. So I look at it as buy once, cry once. Just get a nice case that's going to last the rest of my life. I'm not going to overly abuse it. I should get plenty of life out of it. So that's what I did. I just didn't want to fool around with anymore, so I got a nice case. So again, roto-molded. Both options have these very heavy-duty latches. So you're definitely going to be able to keep that closed, especially if you're at speed on the ice. Moving along. You don't have to worry about this coming open. They do both also have a ruler on the top. Not that you may want a better ruler on hand, but in a pinch, this would certainly do. The hinges are steel, so it's not plastic like a lot of the other models are, where again, those are weak points, especially in the cold, as they get brittle and they break. It's a very tough nylon handle. And then on the inside, the top and bottom are both a nice quality foam. So you got this, kind of like what you see in gun cases. You got this nice foam up at the top, foam at the bottom. And what can I say? It is a very nice unit. It even has holes on the corners in case you wanted to lock it. I'm not sure I'll ever have to use something like that. But what I was finding was that, I didn't want to spend the extra money for the bigger case because, it was already kind of a jump, right, to go to this model. But B, as I started putting my poles in here, I noticed it was not ideal. And let me show you why. So the regular case would work great for most people. And I'll admit, it's still a fantastic case. But as we look at it, you start seeing some of my issues. So, first off, it's got the great spots for trays, so I can keep tungsten jig heads and all other sorts of stuff in here. And that's great. I don't need a whole ton, so 2 spots is fine. But when I start loading this up with reels, I'm noticing a couple things. Most times, if I want to get one of the poles back here, I'd have to flip it the other way, and it's not a natural way to sit, but it's depending on, what's going on over here, right? So yes, I could put this over here. But it's just kind of, it turns into being some origami of how you fit everything in here. And one of my biggest pet peeves is how shallow this is. So right now, if I go flat across the plastic, I'm starting to hit this handle. So obviously we all know, we can unscrew this side. Some have quick mechanisms here where you can fold that handle in, which I've done, and I could get the poles in without hitting this foam so aggressively. But then every time I got to take a pole out, I got to redo that handle. If I want to move somewhere and use the pole again, I have to put this handle back out, fold it out. Not that I don't think this foam is going to give enough, in addition to the bottom piece, but I just don't like that. I don't want to put pressure on this, especially with my inline reel. I don't have an option to fold that in. So when I push this down, it's squishing. And I don't like that. So, and again, I'm getting a lot of interference with the poles in the middle. I could probably devise some mechanism with foam or something else to stop these from hitting, but I noticed when I packed this and I lifted up to move it, everything's on top of each other, hooked into each other. You know, these are bouncing a lot. Not that that's going to be big damage, right? But, you know, if I can get a better case and for the same price, I'm going to do that. So as I said earlier, this was around 180, 189, somewhere in there. The larger case was 250. So I bought this one and I kept looking online and I was looking at cases and then I saw the deep version for the same price as this one. So with some of the things I didn't like about this, that expensive one that I didn't want to spend the money for, coming from 250 to about 180, 189, the same as this one's going back, and now I'm moving to the bigger version. So moving up to the bigger case kind of took a lot of the pain out of the whole equation with carrying all this gear. Not only do I have 2 more slots in here for tackle boxes, but there's actual holders for the rods. So as you can see, I got, 5 rods in here right now with definitely room for more. I can even fit my ice scoop in here. And what I like about this is that, you know, the end kind of fits in here nicely. And, you know, with these ends, you got this nice extra storage over here. So for example, on this side, I can keep extra fishing line, bait, you know, pliers, hand warmers, whatever the case may be. So again, while this is larger than probably most people's cases, I think it's around 16 pounds or so, 17 pounds. This one's a pound heavier than the smaller one. But I'm getting some efficiencies as well. I don't have to bring a tackle box. I can keep a couple of trays in here. I can carry some tools on the side. It's got my ice scoop. So I'm condensing a lot of things into this package. So it does a lot of missions, right? So I'm really liking this because it keeps the pole, you know, kind of guided in within these slits in the middle. It's holding the rod firm, and I can keep these handles wide open on the reels. I don't have to tuck them in. There's plenty of room where they can sit next to each other. The bails aren't being, there's no pressure on them. And when I close this down, it is not pinching anywhere. So this has been a fantastic unit. So that's my quick comparison. Obviously, yes, this is still a big case. This one's about 2 inches higher than the regular version. But again, it's kind of that all-in-one package. It's carrying your tackle, some of your other gear, your ice scoop, your poles for the whole family. And, you know, let's face it, if you're pulling it on a sled, it's not that bad, especially if you have other people helping with the gear. And if you're putting it on an ATV or something else, obviously no problem. And you're not going to have to worry about this banging around inside your truck. So really good product, made in the USA. I believe out of Minnesota. I'd give it a shot. I don't think you'd be disappointed. Hope this helped.